Imagine a courtroom clash where parents attack or kill their child's killer in court. Instead of relying on the legal system, they took matters into their own hands to exact their own justice. However, the question remains, were these parents righteous defenders seeking justice or ruthless vigilantes crossing the line? Here are 5 jaw-dropping moments when enraged parents attacked their child's killer in court, some ending in deadly confrontations. Witness the shocking scenes of raw, unfiltered justice. Marianne Bachmeier. In 1981, a German woman, Marianne Bachmeier, took matters into her own hands at the Lübeck District Court. She shot and killed Klaus Grabowski, the man on trial for the brutal rape and murder of her daughter, Anna. This act of vigilantism shocked the nation as Marianne's actions were driven by grief and anger. Marianne Bachmeier, born on June 3, 1950, hails from Sarstedt, a small town near Hildesheim in West Germany. Her parents had sought refuge in the West from war-torn East Prussia after World War II. Her upbringing was steeped in conservatism and religiosity, with her father having a history as a member of the Waffen-SS, a paramilitary organization in Nazi Germany. However, he was far from the ideal parent, often seen as an authoritative figure, prone to heavy drinking and frequenting a local bar near their home. Alcohol fueled his aggression, rendering their home far from pleasant. Unhappiness eventually led to her parents' divorce, and her mother found a new partner. Marianne's life took a darker turn as she was deemed a troubled adolescent by her stepfather, whom she described as dictatorial. Matters escalated to the point where her mother made the difficult decision to kick her out of the house. At just 16 in 1966, Marianne Bachmeier became a mother for the first time, giving her child up for adoption. A couple of years later, at the age of 18, she found herself pregnant once more, this time by her boyfriend. Tragically, her life took a harrowing turn when she became a victim of rape shortly before giving birth to her second child. Heart-wrenchingly, her second child, like the first, was also placed for adoption as an infant. In 1972, Marianne's life saw a glimmer of hope when she started a relationship with Christian Berthold, the manager of Tipasa, a pub where they both worked. At the age of 22, she became pregnant for the 3rd time. On November 14, 1972, Marianne welcomed her 3rd child, a daughter named Anna, into the world. She decided to raise Anna as a single mother, and this new responsibility meant that she often had to bring her daughter to work at the pub. Marianne was so dedicated to her work that she never felt the need to rush home after her regular hours behind the bar. Marianne Bachmeier's life was marked by a tumultuous journey through difficult circumstances, family strife, and personal trials. It was within this challenging backdrop that the events leading to the tragic act of vigilantism at the Lübeck District Court in 1981 unfolded, forever altering the course of her life. In 2 1984 documentary films, No Time for Tears, The Bachmeiers' Case, and Anna's mother, Marianne Bachmeier's life was laid bare. She was depicted as a single mother, working late into the night and sleeping in till daybreak, leaving her 7-year-old daughter Anna to fend for herself during the day. Marianne, cognizant of her turbulent lifestyle, contemplated giving Anna up for adoption. Friends would later reveal that Marianne treated Anna more like a little adult than a child, burdening her with responsibilities from a very young age. The little girl often found herself sleeping in the bar while her mother reveled in the nightlife. According to a close friend of Marianne's, young Anna's life lacked the warmth of a loving family. Marianne Bachmeier was a struggling single mother trying to make ends meet, often at the expense of her daughter's well-being. It was a challenging and turbulent environment for Anna, who had to grow up far too quickly, her innocence lost amidst the tumultuous backdrop of her mother's life. On May 5, 1980, 7-year-old Anna, who loved cats, had a fight with her mom and decided to skip school. She went to visit a man named Klaus Grabowski, who had some cats in his house that she could play with. She thought he was a friend, but he was not. He was a 35-year-old butcher who had a dark and evil mind. He kidnapped Anna and took her to his home, where he did horrible things to her. He touched her in places she did not want to be touched, and he held her with his hands in his mouth. He choked her with a pair of stockings that belonged to his fiancée, and he killed her. He did not care about Anna's life or her dreams. He only cared about his own sick pleasure. He tied Anna's body with ropes and put her in a box. He left the box on the shore of a canal where he hoped no one would find her. But someone did find her. His fiancée saw what he had done and called the police. She told them everything, and they arrested Grabowski and awaited trial. Grabowski, a man with a dark history, had been found guilty of sexually abusing 2 young girls in the past. Back in 1976, he made the choice to undergo chemical castration, a procedure aimed at reducing sexual urges, but it later emerged that he sought hormone treatment to undo its effects. Fast forward to his arrest, Grabowski claimed that Anna, his victim, intended to expose his prior crimes to her mother, using the threat to squeeze money out of him. Fearing a return to prison, he confessed that this fear drove him to commit the unthinkable act of taking her life. In a courtroom drama that unfolded on March 6, 1981, during the 3rd day of the trial around 10 a.m., a startling act of vigilante justice took place. The protagonist, Bachmeier, secretly brought a Beretta 70 pistol into room 157 of the Lübeck District Court. There, with chilling precision, she aimed the weapon at Grabowski's back and pulled the trigger 7 times. 6 of those shots found their mark, and Grabowski was fatally wounded, meeting his end almost instantaneously. In a twist that defied expectation, Bachmeier made no attempt to resist arrest, lowering her weapon calmly, surrendering to the consequences of her shocking act. The incident sent shockwaves throughout West Germany, becoming one of the nation's most infamous cases of vigilante justice. But what happened to Marianne after she killed Grabowski? There's so much more about this story that we can't completely cover in this video. Hit the subscribe button and stay glued to the channel. We will cover more about this topic in our next videos. Do you think she deserved it? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Michael Madison. This is Michael Madison, a serial killer who is facing charges for multiple murders in Ohio. Michael Madison is a convicted serial killer responsible for 3 women's deaths in East Cleveland, Ohio. He was arrested in July 2013 after the bodies of 3 women were found in garbage bags near his apartment. Born in 1977 in Cleveland, Madison grew up in a troubled household. His mother suffered from drug addiction, was very abusive, and encouraged her boyfriends to abuse Madison. In July 2013, police investigating a foul odor found the decomposing body of a young African-American woman in a garage leased by Madison. The victims were identified as 38-year-old Angela Deskins, 28-year-old Shatisha Sheely. The third victim was 18-year-old Sherelda Terry, whose body was discovered in a nearby garage. All 3 of Madison's victims were black women. The coroner could not determine the cause of death due to the state of decomposition. The search for Madison began, and he was soon tracked down and taken into custody after a brief standoff with police at his mother's house. Madison was charged with 3 counts of aggravated murder. As if the crimes were not horrible enough, wait till you see the drama that unfolded in court. Things took a dramatic turn during the trial. Van Terry, the father of one of Madison's victims, was giving a victim impact statement when he looked back to speak directly to the crazy man that murdered his teenage daughter. Weirdly, Madison smirked at him, and Van Terry lost it. He lunged at Madison. Court officials had to hold him back, while Madison, restrained but visibly grinning, was moved to a position of safety. Madison was charged with multiple counts of aggravated murder, kidnapping, and sexual assault. He pleaded not guilty because of insanity, but the jury ultimately found him guilty and recommended the death penalty. In 2016, a judge sentenced him to death for his crimes. However shocking you thought Van Terry's explosion was, wait till you hear the next one. Kwin Boes. The death of a young child is always shocking, but it is even more frightening when they're brutally murdered. In the case of 11-week-old Parker Boes, he was murdered by none other than his father. Take a seat at Gibson County Courthouse. Judge Robert Craig is about to deliver the final verdict of Kwin Boes, a father sentenced for the unthinkable crime of ending his infant son's life. However, someone else in the courthouse would deliver an even more vicious retribution. All seemed well in a small Indiana town until its peace was shattered in May 2018. The reason? 11-week-old Parker Boes was found lifeless. His fragile body had been subjected to blunt force head trauma. You would think the perpetrator was some depraved deviant lurking in the night, but it turned out to be his father, 23-year-old Kwin Boes. As investigators pieced together the grim details of Parker's final moments, the evidence pointed out that Parker had been attacked by his father, even though Kwin claimed the baby had gotten his bruises from an accident. Arrested and charged with first-degree murder, Kwin faced the possibility of 40 years in prison. However, things took an unexpected turn when Kwin's trial was abruptly cancelled and a plea agreement was reached. In exchange for the dismissal of the more severe charge of first-degree murder, Kwin pled guilty to a level 2 felony charge of domestic battery, resulting in death. This plea agreement significantly altered the course of Kwin's fate, reducing his potential incarceration. The judge has sentenced Kwin Boes to 19 years in prison and 6 years probation. The final judgment handed down was 25 years, with 19 years to be served in prison and the remaining 6 on probation. As Kwin Boes was led out of the courtroom to serve the sentence of 25 years pronounced upon him, Jeremiah Hartley, known affectionately as Matt, the baby's uncle, was overcome with a torrent of grief and rage in a moment that would become etched in the memories of all present. Matt lunged forward, swiftly attacking Boes. This act of raw, uncontrolled emotion resulted in Matt facing a battery charge and 179 days in jail for contempt of court. Desean Brown. This is Desean Brown, facing charges for murder in Cincinnati. Brown was charged with 2 counts of murder, as well as felonious assault, gross abuse of a corpse, and tampering with evidence. The allegations against him involved the murder of his then-girlfriend, Nitisha Lattimore, and the horrific act of putting Lattimore's 3-year-old son into the Ohio River. Tragically, Nilo's body has yet to be recovered. However, during a procedural hearing, Antonio Hughes, the father of Nilo, the 3-year-old boy allegedly killed by Desean Brown, took matters into his own hands. Hughes lunged at Brown, repeatedly striking him in the head and neck before being subdued by deputies. Despite court officers handcuffing Hughes and escorting him out, his anger couldn't be contained, and he attempted to attack Brown again, requiring 4 officers to restrain him. Hughes was subsequently charged with contempt of court and sentenced to 7 days in the Hamilton County Justice Center. Revelations from Cincinnati police detectives added another layer of tragedy to the case. They disclosed that Nitisha was believed to have been pregnant with Brown's child, but suffered a miscarriage. Detectives suspect that Brown believed Nitisha killed the baby and retaliated by killing Nitisha and Nilo, plus the fact that Brown bought a body bag on eBay, suggest a motive of vengeance for the miscarriage. If found guilty, Brown faces the possibility of the death penalty. Jasmine Gordon. Jasmine Gordon and Clifford Thomas, who's facing charges of involuntary manslaughter in Detroit, Michigan. Jasmine Gordon and her boyfriend Clifford Thomas had taken 3-year-old Jamila to the hospital, claiming she had hit her head and stopped breathing. However, officials determined that she died from physical abuse, not from hitting her head. Both Gordon and Thomas were found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. Still, he appeared in court on the same Friday, so the victims wouldn't have to give their statements twice. However terrible the crimes were, what happened in court was even more dramatic. Jamila's biological father, Dwayne Smith, was set to give a victim impact statement when he suddenly attacked Thomas from behind. Sheriff's deputies had to intervene to keep the 2 men apart. The fight caused a brief recess, but the court resumed. Gordon and Thomas were sentenced. Gordon was sentenced to 7 to 15 years for involuntary manslaughter and 14 to 25 years for first-degree child abuse as an aider and a birther. Meanwhile, Thomas was sentenced to 6 to 15 years involuntary manslaughter and 1 to 2 years for resisting and obstructing a police officer. You may think that the actions of Jamila's biological father is obscene. However, it pales when compared to the actions of Marianne Bachmeier,